Hello. We're going to be making pineapple pie from scratch, other than this crust right here. I actually did make a pie with a crust from scratch, and I made it in here. So this is not what we're going to be needing today. I'm feeling lazy, so I'm using one of these. Now, I want it to be tart and full of chunks of pineapple. I want to taste the pineapple, sort of like you taste apples with apple pie, or peaches with peach pie. I don't want crushed pineapple. I want pineapple chunks in 100% pineapple juice. I want it to be tart, so I'm adding some lemon. Lots of butter for the crust. As I said to many people, use brand name for your graham crackers. You will taste the difference. I'm not a stickler for brand names, but sometimes it really makes a difference. Some cornstarch, because we're going to be making it into a pie, not a cobbler, and some honey instead of sugar. I am going to be adding some sugar into the crumble crust because it caramelizes better. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be mixing the graham crackers. Take a couple of bricks, and you break them up, put them in here, and you're going to want to really, this is all I have. You would probably want to use a better mixer. Up a little bit. A little more. This is a process, a long process with this tiny little thing. I'm going to be pausing it here, and I will show you the finished result. This here is the crumbs of just one brick. It's really not that much. So even though it looks like this is a lot, you're going to want to add about 2 bricks for one pie. Now it's going to be a crumble crust, so if you have a little bit extra, it's really not the end of the world. Now we have everything pretty much set up here. We have the crumbs from the 2 bricks of graham crackers. We have some melted butter. This is roughly a stick. And some cinnamon. We're going to somehow with one hand, because I'm holding a phone in the other. Give me a second. We're using roughly that much, like a cap, but just kind of half a cap or a little more than half a cap. Put that in there. That aside. We're going to be using about however much sugar that is. It's probably like half a cup, I would imagine. And the sugar is only there to add, to make it so that it caramelizes a little better. It actually holds together. When you expose the sugar to high heat, it starts to turn into a molasses. Eventually it'll start burning. But it'll actually kind of hold these crumbs together so it won't turn back into this powder. And this may be too much butter. So what you do is you add a little bit. And you mix it around with your fork. I like to use a fork because it's easy to clean off when stuff gets stuck to it. This is hard to do with one hand while holding a phone. See, it's clearly not enough butter. You can go in with your hands. My hands are washed, so probably better to use your hands at some point. A little powdery. Add a little more butter. And you can add it all. If you add too much butter, it's not the end of the world. It just won't exactly be crumbly. It'll be like chunks of dough. See? See, this is why I like to use a fork. See? See, it's actually done. See? I'm going to add a little bit more butter. It's almost done. It's still kind of powdery. It's very nearly done. Butter's kind of hot. Wish I didn't get rid of that fork. Regretting it now. Fortunately, I have man hands, so I'm fine. There. See how it turns into chunks, but then it'll break up? If I were to, you still need to mix it up a little bit more. There's still some areas with a lot of butter. You just keep going like this. You can toss it with a couple of forks if you want to keep your hands clean. I'm just cooking for myself, plus my hands are already clean. It's not the end of the world. I wouldn't be using my hands like this if I had a crap ton of people over for a meal. You gotta keep things sanitary. But at some point, you're just gonna have to get your hands dirty. That's what soap and water's for. Now look at this. See? Look at this. Go like this. Buttery. You see the butter in there? But it'll break apart. This is what I personally like to use. Some people like it a little drier. I get that. Some people don't like to use as much butter. Some people like drier crumbs. That's why I add a little bit at a time, because when you make the crumbs like I do, it's very easy to add too much butter. Because I kind of put it right on the line. I like a lot of butter, but if I add just any more to this, it's going to turn into a soggy mess. Now, that is one reason I add the sugar, is because this will caramelize and it will harden. If you really want to get crazy, if you were making a cobbler, and I've made many cobblers before, what you do is you take that little grinder that I showed you, and you add some of these. Actually, I don't like to grind them at all for cobblers, but you can grind them if you want. I like to add the oats in here. But oats have a tendency of absorbing a lot of liquid, so it's better to use it for cobblers that have a lot of filling. You don't want to add too much cornstarch or flour to your cobbler because, as I said, the oats will absorb a lot of the filling. And you don't want to add too much oats either. A little bit. This is graham cracker crumble. You can add flour and oats, or flour and ground oats. You can, but if you use flour instead of graham cracker, you're going to find that it's rather plain. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add a lot of seasoning. Like a lot more sugar than normal. You're going to want to add a lot more cinnamon, maybe some other flavorings if you want to, some vanilla, I don't really know. You flavor it how you want, make it a little better. Now, that's just 2 bricks of ground up graham cracker, and about half a cup of sugar, under a stick of butter. For some reason, I mistakenly bought light butter. I know, I'm getting old. Who the hell wants light anything? But it works. And dark wildflower honey. It's just what I have. I like honey. You can use any kind of honey you want. I'm not using too much sugar. You kind of have to add it to this. There's going to be sugar in here, just not as much. Kind of make it natural. And I will show you what I'm going to be doing, pausing this video, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Now, I took some of the juice of 1 can, put it in a little container, and I added 2 cans to this. Now, it looks like I have kind of a lot of fruit filling for 1 pie, and I have a little secret. I have another one. I'm going to be putting some of the filling aside in the refrigerator and making another pie later in the week. Or I'll add it to something like an ice cream, or who knows. Or I can add it all to this, but I doubt it. Now, this, see, is some of the pineapple juice. This is another container. Now, actually, probably should turn this on to medium. Now, I'll turn it on high at first. When it gets hot, I'll turn it down to medium. I just want it to get hot really quickly. But medium should be where you should leave it. I'm not going to want to cook it down too much. Let's see. some of this back. This is one of those things, if you add too much, it's just like salt. If you add too much of it, you're going to regret it, and there's nothing you can do about it forever. You've ruined it. You have to add another can, which I actually had 2 more cans of pineapple, but I don't feel like making that much filling. It should be okay. Pretty much you add a little there. Mix it around with your finger. This is the little secret sauce, if you will, just a little cornstarch. Mix it around so it's thick. You don't want it to be chunky. It's the best way to do it, and as you can tell, the dishes are clean. When the video was paused, clean as you cook. You don't clean after you cook, especially when you have an itsy bitsy little kitchen like I do. See, it's not enough. You add a little more. That's why I added so much here. I'm just gonna keep doing this until it's liquidy and there's no chunks at all. And you add it to the pineapples. You know, you can copy the same method with any kind of fruit pie that you make. Now, I'm not exactly a baker, I'm not a chef, so I'm sure there's a billion other people that can make a better pie than me. I actually make better cobblers than I make pies. I'm kind of like trying my hand at pies. Now, this is good. See, just add this back in there, not the end of the world. And this is going to sink to the bottom, but when you're ready to use it, just stir it around with your finger a couple more times. We're done with this. And we're done with cornstarch. This back up in my food stuff, whatever the hell it's called. Now, this, I'm going to add this and some of this to that. Like I said, kind of clean as you go. I need this, only one I have. I know I have a very under-equipped kitchen. Every single week, I always think about $20 or $30 and get stuff like little tools and whatnot I have down there. But I still kind of have a lot of stuff that I need to buy. Now, this, when you add this, and then when you add cornstarch, believe it or not, it's not going to be as tart as you think. It's what this is for. You can add fresh lemon if you want, but I kind of wanted to have a lot extra for other pies that I might want to add. I have actually noticed that it doesn't matter what kind of pie that you make, I prefer them tart. Strawberry pies are good, but they are very dull. They're very bland. I like tartness. I'm going to pause this and get to a future point, and I'll show you more. This here is 1 1/2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I had to do it off camera because I'm only using one hand, and I had to poke a little hole in it since it was new. And I'm going to add about this much honey. I'm guessing 1/2 cup. I've been cooking since I was a very young child, so I kind of just know how to do it. I don't exactly take measurements. Mix it around. Cornstarch has not been added yet. Just kind of getting it hot, getting it mixed around, getting the sweetness in there. I might have to add more honey. Yeah, well, that kind of looks like I have to add more honey. Let's just say that's a cup for the sake of writing down a recipe if you want. If that's what you're into. Cup, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, you can add some to taste if you want. Cup seems about good. Let's taste this to see if it's tart. Oh yeah, I have to turn it down, right? Good. Kind of throw some in here. Rinse the lemon juice out. Get a good idea as to how tart this is. A little more lemon juice. Sorry. Not a professional video maker. It's about a little more than half a tablespoon, so about 2 to 2.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. Pretty much a tablespoon for pie. That's actually perfect right there. Perfect. Nice and tart. Now, see, very liquidy. Can't really do much with this. I want to cook these chunks down so that they're soft. I don't want them to fall apart into a mush. I want them to be soft for a pie. And then I'll add this. And when they're soft, I'll show you. Get back to it in a minute. Now, if you look at this, it's only been a couple of minutes. Some of them are soft, some of them are still stiff. I actually am going to stop. I'm going to put this on low here. Low setting. And see, I clean my counters every time I pause the video. That's not what I do. Clean, organized. Mix it up. Let it all very quickly start stirring. It'll start turning to a solid really quickly. You got to mix it around, or else you get chunks of cornstarch in your pie. You don't want that. Ooh, you see how it's thickening? Perfect. Now, if after a couple minutes you think that it's a little thin, do the same thing. Maybe get a little water and come and make another cornstarch slurry and add a little more. It's really not the end of the world. But you don't want to add too much. That's why it's better to just add just a little less than what you think you'll need and add from there. Wow, this is looking really good. I'm going to let this heat for a couple of minutes to see exactly how thick this cornstarch is going to make it. I just kind of added it to it. And after a minute, I'll judge whether I need to add a little more cornstarch. Now this is a little bit soupy. So I made a little slurry with like a teaspoon, I believe. You know how I measure things. What looks to be a teaspoon of cornstarch. Was tempted to add a little more, but I decided always add less than what you think you need to add. When you're adding stuff like salt or cornstarch or any strong flavors or anything that drastically changes how food is, you always add less than what you think you need. That's the rule of thumb. God, especially with salt. Unless you're boiling pasta and you make it like the sea. But that's besides the point. Here we go. This is actually really good. Soft, starting to break down. Look at that. That's beautiful. Sorry about the steam. Look at that. Oh, yeah. That's nice. Got it on really, I'm on medium-low. So it's bubbling. That's perfect. That's nice. It's going to make a good pie, I hope. Turn it off. Dishes. Oh, crumble crust. Now, myself one of these. I'm a little lazy, as I said. I really don't feel like making a crumble crust for the bottom of this thing again. As the last pie I made, it was really good. Wasn't exactly as tart as I wanted, so I decided to add a lot of lemon juice this time. And it was not pineapple chunk. I had pineapple crushed and some peaches. It's good, but needed some work. Oh, this is broken up. You know what? Oh my God, whatever am I going to do with this? You know what I'm going to do with this? Yeah. I want to get some butter. I'm going to redo this myself. Apparently, I'm going to have to do a little bit of this from scratch all over again. I'll pause this and get to a better point in the video and show you more. There you go. I broke this up. into its graham cracker base, butter, hot steaming butter. A little bit there. It has a little butter in it already, I think. I don't think it had much, or else it wouldn't have broken up in the package. That's no big deal. We know how to cook. Mix that up right away. See? Need some pork. Be a little bit more buttery than normal, but it's not the end of the world. It'll help it to stay together on the bottom of that thing. And the butter will help it so that it does not stick to that thing. It's really not the end of the world if you add a little bit too much butter. There's certain things you cannot have too much of. Butter is one of them. Don't let anyone tell you that it's bad for you. It is not. Not even potato chips are bad for you. The problem is when you sit there in front of a TV and eat 12 bags a day. That's what's bad for you. Butter is good for you, as long as you're not eating sticks of it on a daily basis. That's probably pretty good. There you go. Show you what we do to this. Kind of press it towards the edges, because you'll need some on the edges. Okay. Press towards the edge. And move some here. We got some light on one side. Take the heavy part, a little bit there. The bottom, you want to be relatively even. One thing for having a little bit too much butter, helps it to stay together. I could have ground up a brick of my own graham cracker and then put it in that cast iron, but I really didn't want to do that again. It was a lot of pie. Took me a week to eat. I'm trying to test my hand at little pies and seeing if I can make them better. Make some of this beauty here. And in the world, the color doesn't matter. Color is that I'm using better quality graham cracker other than this really dry, crumbly stuff. See? It's okay. We know how to cook. Now, as I said, I'm not Betty Crocker. I'm sure there's a billion people that can make a better pie than me. I'm still kind of trying to learn how to do it myself. This is my little recipe. Now, fair enough for me. Put some here. Look at that. A lot better than it was. I'm going to take this here with my one single hand that I'm using. Oh, a little bit more. Yeah, a little more. This is a really cheap crust. You know, I kind of wish I would have made the whole thing from scratch. I wouldn't be in this position right now. Oh, well. It's okay. Because we know how to cook. 1, 2. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, man. 3. A little more. 4. Perfect. This to about 425. Because gravity. Because gravity means because. Now, that's heating up. What we're going to do is we're going to add this stuff. Just in there too. Next time I pause, they'll be clean. Break it up a little bit. And this is the tricky part. You just want to kind of go like this. Make it loose. It's a crumble crust. You're not making a sheet of this. You're just kind of sprinkling it on. smells great, this crumble crust. This crumble crust just smells awesome. I'm sitting here over it, and I'm like, I just want to shove it all in my mouth as it is, which I don't think that'll be as appetizing as it smells. But it does smell wonderful. Now, you see, we're just kind of scattering it around all over the place, putting an even layer. You got to get some on the edges. You got to focus on the edges. The edges will always kind of be thin because most people try, including me, try not to get some on the counter. Like I just spilled some on the floor there. I'll have to sweep that when I pause next time. And yeah. See? Always gotta save some. Always save some for the edges. Oh, see that little piece right there? Gotta have some on the edges. Gotta have a little bit. There. Perfect. Look at that. That just looks good as it is. Now, 425, I'm going to let that preheat. I'm going to clean some dishes. Actually, it is pretty much preheated. Ooh, yeah. Put that in there for, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes, and you're done. I'll show you to you when it's done. The smell of this thing is wonderful. I just checked it. Turn that off. Put that air out. I'm going to pause this and then show you the finished result. All right. See this? Hear that? It's hard. Look at this. It has a little bit of a crunch to it. That's because I added the sugar. This is wonderful. See, it's starting to slowly bubble out of the edges. That's what you want. I'm going to let this cool off. Like, room temperature. And then you cut it, serve it, and you're fine. And this is going to taste wonderful. But this is the kind of crust you're looking for. Perfect. Enjoy.